Welcome back to Studio Life, everybody. I don't know if you remember, but very recently I did a video about putting two different lots of, well, the same bunch of drum stems, mixed them using both just the included plugins in Logic and then any third-party plugins I wanted to use. And we kind of got to the point where I realized that I could mix quicker using just the included plugins in Logic, which was a bit weird. Anyway, using those same drum recordings, I thought it'd be quite interesting to take it a little bit further and see what we can do with some Listen mic compressors. Now, anyone that doesn't know, the Phil Collins drum sound from In the Air Tonight was famously put together, I think it was Townhouse, was it? But it was on an old SSL 4000, and someone held down the talkback button on the desk. There's a little compressor in there, the Listen mic compressor, and the drums went down it and everyone went, oh wow, amazing, because it's a tiny little mic. It's designed with a compressor in the circuit so that if you're talking into the desk, from at the back of the control room, you can still be heard. So it's a little compressor that's really squashing the signal, and everyone was like, oh, that drum sounds amazing. Now, that's not the full story. The full story is a little bit more complicated. I think it was a Peter Gabriel track where that gated drum sound actually came from. And then, yeah, you kind of have to do it two separate processes, gating the reverb and then putting it through a Listen mic compressor. Anyway, I thought it'd be fun to do that and to just see whether we could pit two Listen mic compressors against each other, see if they can both do the same job, see which is best. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start with the obvious one, which is the SSL LMC or LMC Plus, the Listen mic comp. As you can see, it looks like SSL gear normally looks. It's got that familiar look. We've got an input, we've got some filters, high pass and a low pass, we've got the input gain, we've got the compression amount knob, we've got a side chain button, you can flip it to external and you can listen with that button there, output gain, and then you've got some routing at the bottom here, so you've got wet, dry, mix control. You've then got scoop, which inverts the wet signal, and you've then got split, which is a band pass subtraction mode. So by messing with having either one or both of those buttons on and messing with the wet dry control, you can get some really, really different sounds, which is kind of cool. So that's contender number one in the red corner, is the SSL LMC Plus Listen mic compressor. In the blue corner, on the other side, we have got the Korneff, what do they call their one? Is the talkback limiter. And as you can see from the interface, it's very Korneff. It looks like a dirty old bit of gear that you found at the back of the studio. I love the old tape, the old masking tape, scribble strip kind of preset thing. That's very cool. Slightly different thing, but does a very similar thing. So we've got the Listen mic compressor on-off button. We've then got the amount of that there. We've got the analog on-off button. We've got three different levels of sort of input. So pad, line and mic. They're just different amounts of gain, basically. You've then got a wet and dry blend, and you've got a makeup control. It's pretty simple. But you do have another screen on the back. If you click on the logo, you go to the back of it where you can see things like distortion. You can change that. You can change the high pass. You can just tweak it a little bit more to get the sound more to your liking. So yeah, pretty cool looking thing. It'll be interesting to see how they stack up against each other. And we're going to try and do the same thing in that we're going to basically put our drum sound through these Listen mic compressors on the drum bus. We're then going to use some SSL gates to put some gated reverb onto the drum sound, then push it through here, see if we can get that classic 80s drum sound. Anyway, let's have a go at that. We'll come back in a bit. So this is the drums that we've been working with. This is without any of that going on, just the regular drums process going through a drum bus, going into the stereo bus. So a really nicely recorded drum sound. This is Jonathan Atkinson, fantastic drummer, recorded at his studio by him, bunch of very nice mics and preamps. And obviously some fantastic playing, which helps a lot. So let's see what we can do to turn this into this 80s drum sound. First things first, let's just try putting on our drum bus, after our normal drum bus compressor, which at the moment is the UAD API 2500. Straight after that, I'm going to put the SSL Listen Mic compressor. So quick listen without. And then we're just going to switch it on, and it's the preset that's called In the Air Tonight. I've tweaked it a bit. This is what that sounds like. Not bad, right? Going to turn that off in a minute. It's close, but it's not quite there yet. The reverb isn't doing the reverb thing. So how do we get around that? Well, the first thing you do, or I did, was put an SSL E channel on the reverb return. So straight after my reverb plugin on my send and return system, I've put the SSL E channel. I've not done a lot EQ wise. I think I've pushed 0.8 dB on the top end. But other than that, I've left the EQ alone. But I've set a gate, which is a pretty harsh gate, which is basically just going to catch all that reverb, let it through a bit, and then close the gate really quick. Let's have a quick listen to just that. So I've turned off the Listen Mic compressor on the bus. And then without it, and with it. So I've just dialed in the threshold so that it's letting through, and then as soon as it dips off a bit, it no longer goes through, and I've set the release pretty close. Was it 0.12 seconds? So that's it. That's all I'm doing really, and I've adjusted the trim to make it sit at the right sort of level. Now let's turn that back off. Let's listen to the drums again. There's something in there which is really adding to the vibe. I'm going to turn off one mic. Listen. Massively different. So this is the Versed Reslow mic, which is sitting right over the kit, over the middle, and it's just got a fantastic compressed sound. It sounds fantastic. If I listen to it on its own, so this is just that mic on its own. The amount of smack it's adding to that snare is fantastic. But because of the compressed sound of it, it's sort of doing a lot of the heavy lifting. So when I put it back in, yes, that now sounds fantastic, but it's going against what we need to do a little bit. So I'm going to add a gate. Again, I'm going to use the SSLE channel for authenticity. Same sort of thing, just used a very tight gate. I have EQ'd it a little bit. I've scooped a little bit out of, where are we, sort of 200 hertz, 280 hertz. I've pushed a little bit at 89, wound off a little bit at the top end, and it's now, if I solo it, sounding like this. So without that, now put it in. So that's shortening all the tails. Now, if I put the gate back onto the reverb return and the Listen Mic back on to the drum bus, so the whole thing together now sounds like this. That's just that Versed Reslow mic. That's not the rest of the kit. That's amazing, right? Okay, everything in. That sounds pretty cool. I'm really happy with that. Right, let's see what happens if we switch out the SSL Listen Mic compressor for the Korneff Talkback limiter. I've set them kind of similar. They don't have exactly the same controls. The Korneff, if you click on the logo, takes you to this other page. I've got oversampling on. You can mess with the distortion trim, the FET bias, low pass filter adjust. You can tweak it a little bit. Anyway, I've ended up with this sound. There's a lot more weight. There's a lot more bottom end. If I go back to the SSL, this is the SSL sound. And then the Korneff. There's a lot more welly down the bottom end. That sort of low end of the kick is really coming through. But they're both really good. I like them. They're just slightly different. If I really had to pick one based on authenticity, I would say the SSL. This one sounds the most like the SSL. Listen, Mike, should do really. They used to make it. Yeah, but this, ignoring history and ignoring what sounds the most like the original, this is really nice. You can do some great stuff with this. Okay, so let's say that's what I'm going to use. What would I do next? What's the last sort of link in the chain to make it sound really legit? Well, I would say probably going to the master. And so I'm using Korneff X bus. At the moment, because there's just drums going through, my bus compressor's only just doing a little bit. But because it's an SSL style bus compressor, if I drop the threshold so that we start to trigger it more, so we're getting sort of 4 dB, that will start to sound really good. So this is without it. Let's flip back to SSL. Nothing. Flip out. There you go. So that's the different sound slightly between the Korneff talkback limiter and a solid state Logic Listen mic comp, with a little bit of extra help from the SSL 4KE channel, just to give it that authentic sound. Anyway, hope that's been helpful. See you next time. That was pretty interesting, right? I mean, I like both of those. I think they both got a lot going for them. Let's talk about the SSL. It's a 14-day demo. Obviously, the SSL app downloads it, blah, blah, blah. Nice and easy. Price-wise, $49, but remember, it's plus tax. They always do that. Catches you out. I had to buy it. I don't know why I couldn't get the demo. Apparently I've had the demo before and it expired and I'm not allowed another one. So yeah, I had to spend $49 plus tax to get it. Anyway, SSL. I'm going to go 3 stars, SSL LMC Plus. It's pretty good. I like it. It's just not massively flexible. It can do a few different sounds. It does work, but I think it's 3 stars. I think it's not as flexible as it could be. Right, let's look at the Korneff talkback limiter. Demo wise, 7 days, half as long, but a week should be long enough to test it out, really, shouldn't it? Price wise, it's $39.99. I think that's a pretty good price. That's a good level for something that does this. I really like it. I think it's tweakable enough. And the bottom end, I talked about it earlier in the video, the amount of heft at the bottom end of this thing, I could use it without the distortion and the lo-fi bit of it, just as a really nice compressor, because it's just got such a nice low end to it. It's really interesting. That I like it a lot. The Listen mic compressor goes up to 100:1 ratio. I mean, I don't know if the classic SSL one did too, but you really notice it. It's got such a huge amount of smack. But yeah, that low end and the fact that you can tweak it so much, I think, to me, makes it pretty much flawless. I couldn't find anything I didn't like about it. So I'm going 5 stars for the Korneff. It's rare that I give out 5 stars. So yeah, it's a good one. Anyway, there you go. I hope you enjoyed that. I think it was quite an interesting little project. If you could like the video, that helps a lot. If you could, man, me and the word subscribe do not get on. If you could subscribe to the channel, that really helps. We got an Instagram, which is Mixdown Mastering. Go and have a look at what I get up to in the studio every week. There's also the Studio Live website, where we've got the top 5 plugins and a bunch of courses and a whole bunch of other stuff like that. Anyway, been nice seeing you. See you again soon. Adios.